Top Democrats threatened to forcibly remove Biden from office unless he dropped out, set him up to fail at Trump debate, sources say. And following this, it happened. Harris secures enough delegates to clinch Democratic nomination. She's the presumptive nominee. By Monday night, Harris secured 2,668 delegates at the Democratic National Convention in August. Only 56 delegates remain uncommitted, according to the informal count. Now, it's entirely possible, of course, that come convention time, something happens, and she ends up not the nominee. I believe there's actually a fairly decent probability that is the case. Why? If the news is true that Joe Biden is dead or dying, Kamala Harris may be sworn in as president. And if she is, I think it's likely that she doesn't run. The scenario that I've offered up over and over again, and perhaps I will be wrong. I think I'm going to be wrong on this one. People have said, if they're going to pull Joe Biden out, how do they get past Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris can't win. Well, a couple ways. First, it doesn't need to be complicated. Kamala Harris could simply say, I don't want to run. We're past that. She's saying, I'm running. How then do you bypass Kamala Harris? Simple. Joe Biden suffers a medical episode. He cannot be president anymore. Kamala Harris becomes president and says, as much as it is my passion and dream to run for re-election, I cannot, in good conscience, pick up the slack for a nation in emergency and create and run a campaign for an election. I don't see that as being very likely at this point. I think it is very likely Kamala Harris will be the nominee. I think it's very likely that she loses based on the merits. That being said, we know that shadow campaigns are a component of Democratic planning, and there's a strong possibility that we ain't seen nothing yet. You think 2020 was crazy? Oh, boy. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what their plans are. Threats of illegal immigrants voting, fears, I should say. We don't know. The polls have Trump up 2 points on Kamala Harris. She is younger than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And now all of a sudden you're hearing Trump is too old. He's too old. Kamala Harris is 59. She's the candidate for us. I love this about Democrats. They're like, we don't need democracy. The political elites can choose our candidate for us. Uh-huh. Right. Well, that was the game plan. Take a look at this. And then we've got the statement from Kamala Harris on securing the nomination. Operatives, the very highest levels of the Democratic Party, threatened Biden with forcibly removing him from office unless he stepped down. The well-orchestrated palace coup to stop the faltering president from seeking re-election had been in place for weeks. But stubborn Biden fought it every step of the way, a source close to the Biden family told the Post on Monday. The insider also made it clear anger, paranoia, and frustration Biden displayed at the party elite circled around him and piled on the pressure. Here's one for you. What if Joe Biden is not dying and is not dead? What if he's actually just old, but largely okay? Now, we know his brain don't be working all that well, and he's not too good with words and stuff. But maybe Joe Biden, while he is suffering from cognitive decline, a bit of confusion here and there, what if he's just fine, a little tired? And what's really happening is they said, you're dropping out and we're orchestrating it this way. What if the truth is Joe Biden's actually sitting at home in a rocking chair, really did call in a Kamala Harris' campaign, and they're just telling him, you're going to say what we tell you to say or else? What if the reason they won't release the Robert Hur tapes is because Hur says, listen to me, Joe. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home. You're going to be with your family. You're going to enjoy a nice tall glass of lemonade in a rocking chair on your front porch. Otherwise, you're going to be criminally charged, same as Donald Trump, and you will spend what little time you have left fighting and having your legacy destroyed. Now, I don't know about all that, but you get the point. They said, Biden, we will destroy you. We won't just remove you, we will destroy you. So Biden says, okay. Or what if? The other direction. They said, Biden, you will drop out or else. And Biden went, then or else. And then he suffers a stroke. I don't know. They say part of the elaborate strategy to remove Biden from the race, as he announced in a shocking letter posted on next Sunday, was allowing him to debate Republican candidate Donald Trump last month on live TV in Atlanta. During the car crash 90-minute debate, Biden appeared confused, slack-jawed, and at one point froze up, with his performance turning the tide against him. They had it all planned out. The debate was a setup to convince Democrats that he couldn't run for president. As calls for him to bow out mounted, Biden insisted he would continue, but party bigwigs threatened to invoke the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. The amendment allows for the vice president and members of the cabinet to declare the president as unfit to serve and force him to step down, the source added. The White House and representatives for the Democratic National Committee did not immediately respond to the Post requests for comment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, whether or not it's true, I think it's very probable Kamala Harris is the presumptive nominee now. I love, there's a meme and they're like, let's just remember the word presumptive is carrying a lot of weight. Because Joe Biden was the presumptive nominee, but now he ain't nothing. Yo, I got to do this. I got to pull up Predict It. How many of you got rich? Oh, man. Will Harris be the nominee? Look at this. Joe Biden's gone. Yo, Kamala Harris is at 91 cents. Heavens help me. What? Let's go back to the 90-day. Let's look at this swing. We don't need no Clinton, Obama. No, we want Biden. Look at that inversion. Check this out, dudes, my friends. If you had Kamala Harris when she was at 5 cents, you're looking at a near, what is that, 20x return? Wow. That's predicted for you. This is crazy. This is not even this is about a month ago. 1 month ago, you could have bought a share of Kamala Harris at 4 cents. And now she's at 91. From 4 to 91. For every $4 you put into Kamala Harris, you got $91. You put in $4,000, you got $91,000. Now, I don't know how much you can actually put into this thing. I don't know how it works. And I'm not giving anybody financial advice, but look at these swings. Biden's back, then he's gone, then he's back, then he's gone. Biden is at 0. Excuse me. So if you bought, you can buy no contracts, right? So if when Joe Biden, that's wild. Seriously, can we calculate the no's? If Joe Biden was at 86 cents, that means no for him was comparable. What happens if, it doesn't let me do it, 10 cents to buy no on Kamala Harris. If you had bought Joe Biden 10 cents at no, 10 times your money back on these prediction markets. And if you watch Timcast and Timcast IRL, then you knew. Here's the best part. Hey, I'll claim this one. I shouted this out back in November. We can't even go back that far. I said Joe Biden will not be the nominee in November. I was a little nervous about it. I didn't know exactly if I was going to be right. I thought it was a bold prediction, but in my mind, I was like, I cannot envision a scenario where Joe Biden is the nominee. Now we got this. Look at this one. Who will win the 2024 election? Donald Trump is the favorite to Kamala Harris at 44 in second. RFK Jr. is at 2 cents. I'm not even convinced Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. I mean, look, she says she's got the delegates. That means very little to me. Vice President Kamala Harris has secured verbal agreements from enough delegates to win the nomination, according to a survey conducted by the AP. By Monday night, Harris secured 2,668 delegates at the Democratic National Convention in August. Only 56 delegates remain uncommitted, according to the informal count. The announcement came after dozens of state delegations began endorsing the vice president on Monday, pushing her expected delegate count far ahead of the 1,976 needed to secure the nomination. However, these delegates are not locked into voting for Harris, and formal voting for the Democratic nominee will not take place until August 1st. So they do have a statement, which we'll read in a second. When I announced my campaign for president, I said I intended to go out and earn this nomination. Tonight, I am proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee, Harris said in a statement posted by her campaign on Monday night. I look forward to formally accepting this nomination soon. So here is the official statement here. Blah, blah, blah. I guess I'll just read it for you. Statement from Vice President Kamala Harris on becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee for president. When I announced my campaign for president, I said I intended to go out and earn this nomination. Tonight, I am proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee. And as a daughter of California, I am proud that my home state's delegation helped put our campaign over the top. I look forward to formally accepting the nomination soon. I am grateful to President Biden and everyone in the Democratic Party who has already put their faith in me. And I look forward to taking our case directly to the American people. This election will present a clear choice between two different visions. Donald Trump wants to take our country back to a time before many of us had freedoms and equal rights. I'm going to pause real quick. That's a lie. I believe in a future that strengthens our democracy, protects reproductive freedom, and ensures every person has an opportunity to not just get by, but to go ahead. Over the next few months, I'll be traveling across the country, talking to Americans about everything that's on the line. I fully intend to unite our party, unite our nation, and defeat Donald Trump in November. So how's it going to go down? The Washington Post says how Democrats can pick a new candidate. Delegates will choose a new nominee now that President Biden has stepped aside, possibly at an open convention in August. Let's roll, baby. Now that Biden has decided to end his campaign for re-election, which I'm going to pause once again and just say, prove it, ladies, prove it. I say, ladies and gentlemen, this is, it's actually two ladies and a guy. I think it's two ladies and a guy. It might be two guys and a lady. Biden hasn't come out and said anything. Okay. So I'd like to see him give a statement, and maybe he will, unless he's dead or dying. I don't know. They say now that he's out, there are two paths. One is a virtual vote that would lock in a new nominee in early August, and the other is an open convention, a scenario the party hasn't experienced since 1968. Oh, man, this is why I'm not going to Chicago. Yo, 1968 riots in Chicago, brokered convention, and they're saying we may experience that once again. A convention is open when no candidate arrives the clear majority of delegates. So the event turns into a mini primary in which contenders scramble to persuade delegates to vote for them. The potential for chaos is high and the time is short. Some states have August deadlines to get on the ballot for the general election, and early voting begins in some places in September. So party leaders probably will try to settle the nomination before the DNC begins August 19. Here's how it could play out. Biden dropped out of the race on Sunday. His delegates are free to vote however they would like. They say Biden endorsed Vice President Harris. So I guess they're tracking this like in real time. Biden's delegates aren't obligated to support Harris, but they may be inclined to do as he wishes. There's an alternative route. Biden doesn't endorse anyone. Additional candidates may see an opening to jump in the race. Next, efforts at unity. Party leaders will try to convince delegates to coalesce around one candidate. An early vote, they ask. The party has planned a pre-convention virtual vote to officially nominate Biden. It could be delayed or canceled. Interesting. The decision will be made at the convention if there is no vote. If there is a vote with a majority, the nominee will be chosen before the convention. I believe that is very likely, and it's looking like it will be Kamala Harris. If there's no majority, it'll go to the convention. Considering they have very little time left to get on some of these ballots, I believe the deadline's already passed in some places. You're not going to be able to make this move in August. Some states, I believe it's like a 90-day limit. They have to print the ballots 90 days in advance. Sorry. I ain't going to cut it. If you're mid-August, and we're talking about November 5th, you do not have enough time to get the job done. Well, I mean, maybe. We'll see. If they have August, September, and October, they might be able to pull it off. A few thousand delegates representing voters will officially decide on the party's nominee. Whether a convention is open or not, typically they choose the winner of the primaries. This is what they're sent to do. So it may feel as if the voters choose directly. Yeah, please. But now that Biden has left the race, all his delegates are free agents and will choose a candidate on their own without voter input. Here's what I love about the DNC. Super delegates. That's right, super delegates. 749 super delegates, 3,949 delegates. So if there's a tie, or get this, let's just round up for the sake of making it easy. Let's say that 2,400 delegates decide we want Bernie Sanders. The rest say we want Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. The super delegates walk up and go, we're going to go with Barack Obama. And the minority candidate who should lose wins. Super delegates are political elites who can vote however they want. Amazing, huh? So here's the map breakdown of delegates to super delegates for each state. There are two types of pledges of delegates. Pledged delegates commit to supporting a candidate state voters choose, although a good conscience clause in the party's rules give them a bit of wiggle room. The party allocates pledged delegates to each state or territory, and state party officials divvy them out to candidates. Jurisdictions have different criteria, but in general, almost any registered voter deemed to be loyal to the party And the candidate can be a pledged delegate. Poll workers, local elected officials, fundraisers, even candidates' kids. Automatic delegates, often called superdelegates, are the party's highest profile leaders. They have the role because of the offices they hold or held. And the group includes former presidents, vice presidents, Democratic governors, members of Congress, and party officials. They are not pledged to any candidate and are not allowed to vote on the first ballot at the convention. So we'll see an open convention. That is to say, the idea is if it's overwhelming for one candidate, then you get your winner, and superdelegates don't play a role. We could see an open convention. If the party goes ahead with a long-planned virtual vote, it could officially lock in the nominee before the convention starts, and the contest would be over. Biden has endorsed Vice President Harris, which could strongly tip the scales towards unity. His nearly 3,900 delegates wouldn't be required to back Harris, but they were chosen for their loyalty to him and may be inclined to do what he asks. Well, Harris says, I think she already has 2,600 and something. What's the number they gave? 2,668 delegates have already pledged to Kamala Harris. So that's it. Unless the superdelegates want to get involved, I don't think they can actually make a large enough swing. Oh, man. No, I don't think they can make a large enough swing at this point. With 2,000, maybe not actually, with 2,668. And there's 3,949. They are not going to be able to, if all the superdelegates voted against her, it's not possible. It's not possible. The virtual vote is not a typical part of the process. It was largely set up to confirm Biden as nominee before Ohio's ballot deadline. Funny how all of this seems to line up and just perfectly work out for these people. Why, we asked, was Joe Biden not on the Ohio ballot? It made no sense. Now you know why. Because he was never meant to be on the ballot. And they used that as an excuse to create a special process so that Kamala Harris will be on the ballot in Ohio. And that's the game they played, is it not? You're ending a Republican convention where it's very clear who their nominees are, whose name will appear on the ballot, Dacey said. They now have this moment in time of like 31 days before the convention where they have their nominees in place and they're all campaigning. Democrats don't. There's no consensus before the delegates arrive. If there is no consensus, the Democrats would have their first open and contested convention since 1968. That one, also in Chicago, went so catastrophically awry that the party overhauled the way it chooses candidates. What would an open convention look like? If a nominee is chosen beforehand, there's nothing. If it's not, then candidates officially enter the race. The signatures of at least 300 delegates are required for a candidate to appear on the ballot. They may gather signatures before or during the convention. In the first ballot, if there's a majority, then you end up with a nominee being chosen, of course. If there's no majority, superdelegates are now allowed to vote along with pledged delegates. Still no majority, then you will get subsequent ballots. Voting continues until they secure the majority, and then you get your majority. Well, here's where we are today, my friends. 538 has discontinued their Trump v. Biden poll tracking because Biden's out. And they've not yet created a Harris one because Harris isn't the nominee. Ain't that something? But we do still have these polls. And in the latest from Morning Consult, Trump beats Harris by 2 points. With your standard margin of error and bias towards Democrat, it's likely that Trump has a solid 2 points up. Some might say, well, margin of error, it's a toss-up. No, but there's a Democrat bias in polling. This is true. And I am not saying that pollsters like Democrats. I'm saying typically Democrats get oversampled for a variety of reasons, and so it tends to skew in their favor. Harris versus Newsom. Harris beats Newsom by 58%. But there's more. Look at that. Harris beats everyone. Buttigieg, Whitmer, Shapiro, Pritzker, Bashir. You know, one of my favorite points someone made was Kamala Harris would never win the nomination in any normal means. And this is the only way she can actually be the Democratic nominee. She's not popular. Nobody likes her. She's very, very unlikable to the general public. And they really want her to be the nominee? Huh. I don't know how you square that one. According to SoCal Research, general election, Trump beats Harris by 6. Another poll, they found Trump beating Harris by 8. Quinnipiac has Trump up 4. They have 4 polls, 1 up 4, 2, 5, and 3. So up on Kamala Harris, it's 4 points when you include Kennedy, Stein, West, and Oliver. And if it's just Trump v. Harris, it's 2. But of course, Kennedy is going to play a big role in this. These people are on the ballot, so that is an important factor. If it were Biden, he's up 5. We've got these other Harris polls. Look at this one from Harris X. I love that it's Harris X. Trump beats Kamala Harris by 8 points. And in the secondary poll, 6 points. Fascinating. When they make it Whitmer or Buttigieg, Trump beats by 7, 2, and 6 points. Suffice it to say, there's no scenario that shows Democrats taking the lead. Michelle Obama, I think had one really good poll or whatever. But everybody's saying she's not going to do it. I love this. You now have the real clear polling. General election, Trump versus Harris. Aggregates. In aggregate, Donald Trump is beating Harris by 1.9 points. So we shall see. Before the assassination attempt, Harris was up by 1 in one poll and 2 in one poll. Up 2 points in another poll. However, since then, you've had a poll with like Forbes, Harris X, Trump's up 6, up 2, giving Trump an aggregate 1.9. I think the assassination attempt changed everything. So I don't know exactly what we can expect to see, but it does look like there's a strong probability Kamala Harris will be the nominee because nobody wants to move against her. There's also a strong possibility that she may be the president in a couple days. I suppose we can only wait and see, my friends. So stick around, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends. I'm going to wrap up this segment here, but of course we did this show live in the morning. So for those that are still watching live, stick around. I'll read some of your super chats and we'll get into a few more stories. We have a comment. People are saying Biden will address the nation tomorrow. We shall see. I like I was saying before, I think it seems probable. It seems normalcy bias. Like, yeah, that's going to happen. So we'll see. Once again, smash that like button. And the next segment will be coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all then.